What is going on there, everyone? I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend as usual. Very interesting story. Very interesting story. It kind of goes to everything a lot of conservatives have been saying about California for like 2 decades now. Climate experts suggest Trump was right when he blamed California's wildfires on land management, or the lack thereof. Yes, that's a very true statement. Conservatives have been arguing this for years and years and years, but no one ever wants to listen in California. I wonder why. I wonder why. Climate experts are apparently backing President Donald Trump's repeated arguments that California's wildfires were a result of poor land management rather than climate change, E&E reported Thursday. Roughly 75% of damage stemming from California's wildfire was a result of the way we manage lands and develop our landscapes. Scott Stevens, a professor of fire science at University of California, Berkeley. It's hard to believe that anybody in California, let alone Berkeley, is agreeing with the president. That's pretty phenomenal. That is pretty phenomenal. Wildfires used to burn through 4.5 million acres in the 18th century, when the indigenous communities populated California's countryside, Stevens noted. Fire was almost as important as rain to our ecosystems, he added. And that is actually very, very true, because there are certain trees that drop pods, seed pods, that will only open when they're exposed to fire. And that's the only way those trees continue to even survive is with fires. There's a lot of things that actually need fire in order to survive. A lot of plants. Stevens was not the only researcher at the National Council for Science and the Environment to make that point. Wildfire is not really wildfire. It's not pointy green trees, Jennifer Montgomery, director of California's Forest Management Task Force, added. Montgomery continued, "You get those so-called wildfires at intersections of development." And it's not just that. You got to think, land management obviously is a very big part of the situation with the fires. But most of these fires, people, are set by arsonists. There's not actually a whole lot of statistical data that I was looking and I couldn't find a whole lot. Most of it was shoddy at best. But I hate saying this. I really hate saying this. Just Google it. How many fires have been in California, these massive fires, and around the world, like in Australia. 86% of the fires that are going on in Australia right now, 86% of them are due to arson. There's over 150 people right now that have been arrested for arson with connection to these fires in Australia. So, poor land management mixed with arson, you got a recipe for disaster. With arson, how can you really even stop that? That's generally either accidental or crazy people. And that's what we're finding a lot of the times in California. California's got a problem, as we know, with homelessness, and they also have a very bad problem with mental health issues there. Because of laws they've enacted, these progressives have enacted laws and everything, and they've made mental health and all that, it's non-existent. The doctors for it and stuff, it's non-existent. They got crazy people running around all over the place. Look at California. It's pathetic. They've destroyed a beautiful state. One of the most beautiful states in our union. Nah, they don't care. Yeah. But what can you do? Trump makes similar arguments. There is no reason for these massive, deadly, and costly forest fires in California, except that forest management is so poor, the president tweeted in September 2018 when the fires were scorching their way across the Golden State. The cost associated with firefighting is increasing dramatically, hitting a record $1.1 billion in 2017. The president signed fire funding fix legislation in 2018 to give federal agencies $2.25 billion to fight fires starting in 2020. That amount would increase to nearly $3 billion by 2027. Montgomery and Stevens' comments also come in stark contrast to the remarks made by California's largest power utility. It seems like a lot of people hate this company. They can't seem to do anything right, whether they try to or not. You know, they cut the power off during windstorms and stuff to try to eliminate sparks or trees falling into the lines, which will cause fires, and the people lose their mind and all this. It's like rock in a hard place. I don't know why they don't have underground utilities. I know with their earthquake situations that could be a little shoddy too, but I mean, at best, you wouldn't have all these wildfires that could be blamed on, the power grid and stuff. But it's California for you. California's prolonged record drought, unprecedented tree mortality, heat waves, and offshore Diablo winds created a significant and unforeseen increase in wildfires. PG&E CEO Bill Johnson told the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee in December. PG&E shut off electricity in November 2019 to nearly 1 million customers to prevent the spread of wildfires. The blackouts were intended to forestall wildfires. One of the utility's snapped wires was reportedly found on a transmission tower near where the Kincaid fire began. California's wildfires killed 103 people between 2017 and 2019 and burned 4 million acres, while causing millions of citizens to lose power. When? You want to lose power for a while, or do you want everything to go up in flames? Or maybe you should start talking to your local officials and state officials and try to get them to change the laws to where some real meaningful action can take place. The citizens to lose power as electric companies turned off electricity to prevent potential arcing from sparking fires. State officials frequently argue that California's wildfires were the result of excessive carbon emissions inside Earth's atmosphere. Former Governor Jerry Brown, a Democrat, of course. That goes without saying. I don't even know why they had to put that in there. For instance, said in 2018 that those who deny global warming were definitely contributing to the deadly fires. No. Those who deny global warming are not necessarily wrong. The Earth goes through many cycles. I've talked about it many times in previous videos about climate. Yeah. Come on. We need to take the global warming down a notch. This climate alarmism, it really needs to come down, because people are just looking silly when all these things aren't going to happen, or they're not happening. Al Gore said, "Oh, this and this is going to happen by the year 2010." Nothing happened. People like morons like AOC. The Earth has 12 years. Come on. Then she says, "Oh, I was just being hyperbolic." No, I don't think you were. You repeated that a whole lot until you really got called out harshly about it. So, no, I don't think you were joking. You were just trying to scare the bejesus out of people. And on the left, that works really well, because not as a blanket, not the whole left, not the regular moderates and calm thinking people. They usually don't jump on board with all this activist nonsense from the progressives. But the progressives themselves, they're not going to do their own research. They are very tribalistic. They are going to hear someone that they admire say something, and they're going to take whatever they say as law, whether it's factual or it's complete and utter nonsense that has no scientific basis behind it. So, come on. But I know this has got to have people like Greta Thunberg and AOC just pulling their hair out, going crazy. Other experts say Trump and Brown are both wrong. Imagine that. The recent fires are predominantly in grassland and chaparral. University of Washington climate scientist Cliff Mass told the Daily Caller News Foundation in 2018. And Brown is wrong because the prairie grass would have burned despite climate change, he added. It's very true. This stuff just happens. I can somewhat agree with that. I mean, it doesn't make Trump and Brown wrong at all. No, because there's multiple factors with these giant wildfires. And that's the problem whenever it comes to these fires and climate activists or just, I don't know. It's just, they all get it so convoluted with nonsense. It's hard to tell what's true and what's not. But the way I look at it, there's a little bit of truth in everything. You know, even when it comes to global warming, there's probably some truth that mankind has, a 0.0001% effect on the planet. Sure, we probably do. It's almost impossible to say we don't have any impact. But it's definitely not as bad as what these climate alarmists say. So don't worry but so much about it. We all need to take steps to make the planet cleaner and better for everybody. Sure, that's just something we should be striving to do as humanity. Let's leave the planet or whatever we can better to the next generation. That should be the way it goes. But lying to people and trying to freak people out and scare everybody all the time, that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Sorry. There's a lot of us who will do our own independent research. And what these people are saying and what's happening in reality, they just don't mix well. Like I said, there's a multitude of factors with these wildfires. Most of the time, probably 85% of the time globally, they're man-made. They're caused by people. Whether it's a campfire that didn't get put out properly, whether it's just people working and a piece of equipment has this tiniest little spark and it starts smoldering something and no one notices. There's just so many different instances where accidents can happen. And that's why we need to, first, a lot of policy with clearing underbrush and all this stuff. Something that needs to be done, obviously. Obviously, if you take the fuel from the fires, they won't be so bad. They're still going to happen. That's nature. It catches on fire once in a while. Lightning strikes. So you'll still have fires, but they won't be so prolonged and extreme if you would just let people go in and clear underbrush. We do it around here in Virginia all the time. We clear areas all the time that are fire hazards. We keep grasses to wild grass. We keep them to a minimum in most areas just because the threat of fire. It makes sense to do. California, do it. Stop being so hippy-dippy. Trust me. We humans can solve this problem fairly simply, or at least mitigate it to where it's not such a bad problem. But I don't know. Whether y'all agree with me or not, that's just how I feel. That's my opinion. I would love to hear your opinion as always. So leave them comments down below and like, share, and subscribe. I will catch y'all on the flip side.